Hello everyone, and welcome to another video of our HL7 PET series. In this video we're going to be covering how to remove personal identifiable information from the messages, and that's where we use our transformation features on the HL7 PET. So we're going to continue using the same auto-generated COVID electronic lab record message that we've been using in previous videos. And on this case here, we're gonna use a class called the identifier, because the most common use case for this is to remove the PII or personal identifiable information from the messages. And this method here, this class here, has a de-identify message method. And again, you're gonna pass your message and you pass the rules. We're gonna talk more about how to create those rules, but that's what makes it very robust, and you can create any kind of rules on how you wanna redact the message, what specific fields you need to redact, and things like that. This method here returns two things for us. It returns a new redacted message, so we pass the original message here, and we're gonna get a copy of that message, but with all the rules applied for redaction. And we also get a report, which is a list of every single redaction that occurred on the message. So I have our rules kind of pre-created here, and if I run this test against those rules, let's see what's happening. So basically you can see here, after I run this, first I print the report, and then I print the redacted message. So what you see here is exactly that. First is the report, and then I have my redacted message. And you can see that on the redacted message I have several places where it says redacted, and there's some other changes that we wouldn't notice unless we know all the rules and what's going on. For the reports, here is I'm just printing some information. Like if I open my print report here, a redact info class has a line number, the line number that it was redacted, so line number 2, line number 3, 9. I had the path that was redacted, so PID 3.1, PID 5.1, PID 5.2, PID 7, those are the paths. Slash field index, so usually a field has only one value, so the first value, the second value, etc., how it was redacted. And then the rule that was applied. This is a human readable information on those other attributes. So for example, redacted PID 3.1 with a value redacted, and PID 3.5 not in one of those values. So that's one of the most sophisticated rules we can have, but usually it's simply like redacted PID 511 with value 9999, or redacted PID 911 with an empty value. So let's see the rules and how can we create our own rules, right? So this is basically a comma delimited file that we can have, and it has three columns basically: the path that you want to look for redaction, the value that you want to replace the original value with, and a optional condition. So like I said, conditions are optional if you don't specify. Like most cases here on this rule, it's automatically redacted. The condition is basically true, redact whenever you find a value. But if you want to redact it under certain conditions, you can create expressions here for that as well. So, and each rule, of course, is its own rule, and it's going to be applied independently across all the message. So if I look at here, like I'm seeing here that I'm redacting PID 3.1, right? And this is the one that has the condition. The value that we saw here redacted is the exact same value that we saw here. It doesn't need to be, say, redacted. You can provide any string. Like in this case here, PID 911.5 is a zip code. So that one I decided to change it for 5 nines. So if I go here, there we go, you see 5 nines here. The original message, if I go to the original message, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That replaced to 9999. So that's how this value works. There are some special values we'll talk in a moment, but let's talk about the conditions now. So for PID 3.1, I only want to redact it if this condition evaluates to true. And what I'm checking is I need to see if the PID 3.5 is not in one of those values here. So let's say, for example, I want, let's go to PID 3. So 3.5 is this one here. So let's put PT on this one and AA for this one. And let's run this again. So the redaction say if the value is PT or one of those other values, don't redact 3.1, right? And if you go back here, so now we see the first PID 3.1, first repeat was a PT. This is one of my valid codes here, so I don't want to redact these values. It's not redacted. But the second iteration is an AA, and therefore it got redacted because AA is not part of these values here. So that's how these conditions here can work. You can reference another field on that segment, or you gotta reference something very specific, but any paths here will do as long as it can be deterministic. Or like for example on PID 5.2, I want to redact PID 5.2 only if the field itself 5.2 is not in one of those two values here. So 6 carets and an S and an U. So if I go here, I have so 5.1 is this dojo, and we can see that it got fully redacted because 5.1 is redacted no matter what. But then 5.2 it got redacted with this value here. So you see I have Smith, John, and S. It got converted to just S with the 6 carets because that's the value I specified to be replaced with right here. Okay, so that explains the rules. And the other thing is the report, right? The report will tell you as well. So PID 3.1, the second repeating was redacted. Remember, the first one had a value code, so it did not get redacted. The second repeat got redacted. So we say redacted PID 3.1, the repeating value 2 with value redacted with when PID 3.5 not in these values. And 5.2 got redacted with value --S. So you have those two things of returned to you. Now we spoke about some special values, right? So a special value is, for example, an empty value. So if we're talking about a field or a component, then this can be simply cleared out by not providing a value, right? I could even have provided a condition here if I wanted to, as long as the actual value is empty. And for example, 11.9, so if we check our original message, 11.9 says test. So this is 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can see 11.9 was redacted with an empty value. And if I go back to the redacted message, I have everything, but I do not have the test, or I do not have any new values. It's simply removed. So that's one of the special values. Another special value, so when it comes to removing an entire segment, you cannot simply say empty value. You have to use this $remove. So the $remove is a handle to tell you that, okay, you can see here I want to remove any PV1s, any SPMs, and any nodes. So our original message here, if I go back to the beginning, I don't have a PV1, but I have nodes, I have SPM, nodes again, and SPM, nodes and SPM. And if I go to my redacted message here, you don't see those. You'll see OBR, OBXs, OBR, OBXs, OBR, OBXs, but no nodes or SPM. Those are got all completely removed because that's a rule I had. And a final value is the $hash. So the $hash is for those cases that you have a unique ID and you want to maintain the uniqueness. So this is a best effort. It might not be 100% accurate, but we're getting the initial value and applying a one-way hash function so you can have another unique value. And if that value repeats on the message, you're going to have the same hashes across the message, right? So for our rule, we're applying that to OBR 2.1. So you can see here that OBR 2.1 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. And the next OBR is 123457 and 123458 for OBR3. And here you can see like we redacted OBR 2.1 on line 3 with a hash value. We redacted the OBR 2.1 on line 11 with a hash value, and on line 17 again. So if I go here, my line 3, it has a complete different number. It doesn't say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 anymore. OBR2 a different number, and OBR3 a different number as well. So that's how the hash works. And just for clarity, so we saw some very special paths on the first video when we were explaining the HL7 paths. So this one is using the @ sign to find specific OBXs. So instead of hard coding the OBX2 or 3, I'm saying try to find the OBX where 3.1 is this code here, and redact the 5th field of this OBX with the value NA. So if I go here, Command C, and I look for this value here, so I have OBX9 and OBX11. This happens to happen twice on my message, and OBX5 will be, for this will be this value here, and for this will be a similar value here. But if I go here, I can see lines 18 and line 20 got redacted with the value NA. And if I go back to my message here, if I look for that code, here they are. So my OBX5 is NA for those both entries. So you can still use those fancy HL7 paths on your rules. And that's it. That is everything I have to show in regards to redaction or de-identification, whatever you prefer. And hopefully that was giving more clarity on how the transformation of messages happens with the HL7 PET. Thank you. See you guys.